girlfriends, 2 blacks, 2 whites, and 2 Mexicans. When I graduated, no, I'm lying, I just quit. I said, fuck going to school, cause I knew I had a gift. How to make a bitch come, how to make a nigga run, how to get a lot of money. I ain't talking about toys. If you think I'm telling lies, go on, ask about me. In the 10th grade, I had cars parked down the street. And you wearing a school sweater, I'm wearing a black meat. And you got on Chinese shoes, I got gators on my feet. Now, ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar. Popping my collar. Ever since I can remember, I've been working these hoes. And they better put my money in my hand. Now, ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar. Popping my collar. Ever since I can remember, I've been working these hoes. And they better put my money in my hand. Well, I'm the last Mr. Big, and they call me Diamond Eye. I can take my shades off, and I can blind the whole sky. Niggas shot me in my head, but I still didn't die. When I woke up out my coma, told my mama.
Okay, real quick stream. I don't have much time. I gotta get ready for work. Had a late start. Just walked in from tanning. So let's just get right to it. This is gonna be a political stream. First things first, let's get right into Trump's executive order imposing limits on birthright citizenship. Once again, I'm not going to be here long. 45 minutes and I'm out. Let's go here.
And in the Supreme Court concerning birthright, it was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship.
Okay, 2 things can be true at once. So yes, the government, the country has allowed freedoms allowed for slavery, descendants of slaves to be exploited and just run amok. I get it. Is he on point for this? Yes. Is Trump still a despicable human being? Yes. But this is correct. This is the right thing to do.
Supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen. So, Steve, if you will, please.
Yes, so today the president signed these 2 executive orders here relating to birthright citizenship and birth tourism. As the president mentioned, the 14th Amendment was passed exclusively in the aftermath of the Civil War so to ensure that the children of slaves would be citizens. It had no other meaning and purpose outside of that. And that's been clear, obviously, since the day that it was passed. You can go back and you can read the congressional debates. This is not something that's even seriously contested by anybody. The president is using his authority as commander-in-chief to sign first an executive order using the new ruling the Supreme Court issued to expand the definitions of people who are ineligible for birthright citizenship. That includes, for example, alien enemies of the United States, members of foreign terrorist organizations, and large categories of people who lobby and act on behalf of foreign governments. And so with taking this action, it ensures that large numbers of people who wrongly would be getting birthright citizenship will no longer be eligible for those benefits. The second action that he's taking, which is especially historic, is for the first time ever in American history to ban birth tourism. So I want you to really let that sink in. This has been something that people have talked about not only for years, but for decades. The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying they want to go to Disneyland, or they want to go visit a monument or go to a national park, but the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to the voting booth, and all the other rights and privileges that belong solely to Americans. So that practice of birth tourism is, as of the signing of this order, hereby banned.
This is the right thing, and I'm all for ending birthright citizenship. I'm all for it, but this is the right thing to do. I think the Supreme Court got it wrong. They should have let them dismantle birthright citizenship. But this is the right thing to do. It's a good start. It's a good start. Okay. Yeah, I never heard of birthright tourism. I didn't know that was an actual thing. Like, that's insane. Birth tourism? I've never heard that before. Yeah, this is the right thing. I mean, in light of the Supreme Court upholding the birthright citizenship, this is the next best course of action. I'm here for it. Once again, two things can be true. Trump can be despicable, but yet this is something to help curb the exploitation of benefits that were meant for us. Right? That's why I think maybe it's time to just not even engage in the FBA tether thing, because everybody on this planet knows, any non-black person is basically standing on the shoulders of those that fought the good fight, civil rights and previous situations. But it is what it is, man. I'm here for it. Hell, make it hard for all of them. I don't care what their nationality is, right? Okay, I'm here for it. Birth tourism that's a crazy. I've never heard of that shit before, bro, until today. I'm like, what is that? That is insane, man. I never heard of birth tourism. Like, how do you time that just right to...
Welcome back to Eye on Politics. Now to a new bill in Congress that seeks to revoke birthright citizenship for the children whose parents entered the U.S. illegally and birth tourists. Republican Congressman Brandon Gill of Flower Mound filed the bill. The legislation would not require a constitutional amendment. It would declare anyone who enters the U.S. illegally or for the purpose of birth tourism as, quote, an invader. It comes after the U.S. Supreme Court voted 6-3 to uphold birthright citizenship, striking down President Trump's executive order, which sought to end it. The bill, filed in the House along with a bill already filed in the U.S. Senate, would codify the president's executive order. The Pew Research Center recently found that in 2023, 320,000 babies were born in the U.S. to mothers who were unauthorized immigrants or had legal temporary status. That's about 9% of all 3.6 million babies born in the U.S. that year. Pew said an additional 9,000 women who were residents of foreign countries gave birth in the U.S. that same year, according to the National Center for Health Statistics.
Now, what I would like to know is, what is the breakdown of demographics and nationalities of these babies born to these parents? I would love to know that breakdown. Maybe we'll have time to look it up.
Pew says these mothers, sometimes called birth tourists, receive temporary visas to secure U.S. citizenship for newborns. We went one-on-one with Congressman Gill about his legislation.
So this is a bill that I introduced alongside Jim Banks over in the Senate. We introduced the House version of it. And what it does is two things. So it simply states that illegal aliens and birth tourists are to be classified under federal law as invaders. So it clarifies their status. And secondly, it clarifies that those invaders, illegal aliens and birth tourists, are not eligible for birthright citizenship. We believe that this is, I think, sort of the next step after the Supreme Court ruling a few weeks ago, and think that it's something that everybody should be able to get behind.
It's the only step. It's the only step, y'all. That's the only play they could have made.
Now, would this require a constitutional amendment or no? Because I mean, what exactly are you doing to change the mechanism?
Yeah, so the courts have long understood that the children of invaders are not subject to birthright citizenship. That's not disputed on either side of the aisle. That's been case.
I've never heard of birth. Why would you assume I've heard of birth tourism? Who puts birth and tourism together? No. Why would you expect me to understand a concept where people will come over here to visit monuments of a country simply to give birth to a child? Who thinks of shit like that? So no, please don't assume. I've never heard of a concept. I didn't know a concept like that would exist. Who thinks of shit like that? So please, give me some grace. I don't think most people knew birth tourism was a real thing
For quite some time. What this does is it simply clarifies that illegal aliens and birth tourists fall under that category. So it wouldn't require a constitutional amendment.
Isn't that what makes it an uphill?
Hey, honey, let's go visit Egypt, the pyramids of Giza, and we're going to do it right before you give birth. And then because you give birth to a child over there in Egypt, we're going to get all the rights and protections and resources and benefits. Who the hell thinks like that? And then for what? And then for two to assume that I would know if shit like that exists. Really?
Battle as far as even perhaps legally changing that status, where people might say this is a child, a mom, a dad. What do you say to that?
Well, what we're saying is that if you came across the border illegally, particularly if you're an illegal alien, or particularly if you came across for the purpose of giving birth. So remember, these are people who come to the southern border. They lie on their immigration forms and say, I'm coming here for tourist reasons, or for business reasons, or for some other reason. Whereas the reality is they're coming for the purpose of giving birth so that their child can be an American citizen. They can then be anchored into the United States, and then it creates a whole sort of cascading series of problems. What we're trying to do is fix that. And I think most Americans look at the southern border and they realize we ought to have a border.
It's no different than when people conceive children in different times of the moon phases, different astrological phases. People use children. So imagine all these parents using their unborn child to illegally gain access and resources to stuff they would have never had in their own country. People use their kids all of the time. Here you go. It's very low level, but it's basic. And it fits the very definition of people using their own kids, people having kids for nefarious reasons. Here you go. I didn't say, you moving a goalpost. That's not what you said. You said, I can't believe that you never heard of that, especially whenever it's time they talk about, why would you expect me to know of a plot by 300,000 people a year to purposely go to another country right before their due date just to have a kid? And lie about how we're going to go visit a touristy. Really? I'm supposed to know that people fake going to visit tourists, right? And okay, you got it. You right. You know what? You right. I should have known better. You got it. You're right.
To be a sovereign nation, and we ought to
I should have known better.
who
You're
comes
right.
into our country, and whenever they do, they ought to come in on our terms, not illegally or not under false pretenses.
So I was doing some research, and I found Pew Research found in 2023 there were 300,000 babies born in the United States to unauthorized immigrants, up from 200,000 in 2021. When you hear that number, what goes through your mind?
The first thing I think of is that this was an invasion at our southern border, is that I would like to be able to take my country back. I think that as a sovereign people, we ought to be able to determine, and there is nothing wrong with this, we ought to be able to determine who comes into our country. And we ought to be able to secure our homeland and secure the American dream.
Okay. This is a long overdue course correction. I do think they're using the descendants of slavery as a cover, because they could have stopped all this years ago. So what is the demographic? What was the nationalities? God damn it. Nationalities of children born under birthright tourism in 2023. Okay, so they don't track or publish specific country of origin, nationalities for children born through birth tourism. Hey. Federal indictments and agency reports on commercial birth houses and broker travel networks historically point to several primary countries. Okay, so the government doesn't provide estimates of the extent of so-called birth tourism. Pregnant women come to the U.S. on tourism visas in order to obtain birthright U.S. citizenship. Maybe Pew Research has those demographics. So 2020 number of birth tourism cases between 20,000 and 26,000 per year. Okay. Oh, 2015 Chinese newspaper reported that at least 500 companies offered birth tourism services, and this is in China. Right. I should have known this is a real thing. I should have known. My bad, y'all. I didn't know you had 500 companies that offer services to do this in other people's countries. I didn't know. Shame on me. 2019, federal authorities announced the first federal case involving birth tourism, with the arrest of 3 people for running an operation in SoCal catering to Chinese clients. The indictments describe birth tourism schemes in which foreign nationals, mostly from China, applied for visitor visas to come to the U.S. and lied about the length of their trips, where they would stay, and the purposes of their trips, which were to come to the U.S. for 3 months to give birth so their children would receive U.S. birthright citizenship. The press release said the operators coached pregnant Chinese customers about how to pass the U.S. consulate interview in China by falsely stating that they were going to stay in the U.S. for only 2 weeks. Their clients were also coached to trick U.S. customs at ports of entry by wearing loose clothing that would conceal their pregnancy. Holy, you're right. I should have known about this. Oh my goodness. Okay, the indictments allege that many of the Chinese birth tourism customers failed to pay all of the medical costs associated with their hospital births, and the debts were referred to collection. Receiving a tourist visa from the U.S. government is a privilege, not a right. One of the operations in the indictment purported to have a 100-person team in China and to have served more than 500 Chinese birth tourism customers. The operation used an array of apartments in California and charged customers between $40,000 to $80,000. Another, which was believed to be the largest birth tourism operation, claimed it provided services to 8,000 pregnant women, 4,000 from China. Right. I should have known about this. Duh, Sly. I know. Our federal government has no idea how many Chinese nationals have done this. So our federal government has no clue. Schweitzer claimed Chinese officials estimated as many as 100,000 Chinese babies have been born each year in the U.S. over the last 13 years. Yep. Oh, look here. Birth tourism has been long an underground industry in the CNMI, with pregnant Chinese women flocking to Saipan to give birth that automatically provides U.S. citizenship to their newborn child. Most of these women leave the CNMI after childbirth and the receipt of their baby's U.S. passport. Right. Should have known about this. Okay. Got it. You got it, man. You got it. Let's continue. What is this? Okay. What's my next topic? Gee, I'm just going to burn through this, y'all. Okay. Fauci. They want to hold Fauci in contempt. I mean, what does that really mean at this point? I'm not understanding. What's the end game to hold them in contempt? Let's go here.
Welcome back. If you thought last week's fiery hearing was the end of Senate Republicans' fight with Dr. Anthony Fauci, think again. This morning in a party line vote, the Homeland Security Committee voted to hold Fauci, the government's former top infectious disease expert, in contempt of Congress. The chair of that committee, Senator Rand Paul, said he's skipping the usual vote on the full Senate floor and just sending the referral directly to the DOJ.
We will hand carry this over to the Attorney General. We will hand carry this to the District Court here in Columbia, and we will, as a committee, we have voted the majority to refer this, so that will be accomplished today.
Fauci's lawyers are calling this a crude political stunt intended to punish him. If he's charged and convicted, he could face up to a year in prison. I want to bring in Dr. Paul Offit, director of the Vaccine Education Center at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, MS Now legal affairs reporter Fallon Gallagher, and Tim is, of course, back with me. Dr. Offit, first to you. You know Dr. Fauci personally. I wonder, have you spoken to him over the course of the last few weeks? How's he handling this?
Well, we've had a number of texts back and forth. I think he's handling it pretty well. I think he sees this for what it is, which is sort of this just vicious attack against science and against public health, and at some level against expertise. But I think he's in generally good spirits, which is amazing considering what he's gone through over the last few weeks.
I wonder how he, and frankly you, as someone else who works in the public health field, are thinking about the ways that this is not a good faith debate on how do we...
Okay, worst case, he does a year in jail. I don't see that happening. But Fauci was the man behind Magic Johnson. Yeah, he was the man behind Magic Johnson. Okay. So, Fauci helped guide and treat Magic Johnson after his HIV diagnosis in 91. Johnson publicly credited Fauci and David Ho for helping him understand his medication, maintain a positive attitude, and stay healthy. Magic Johnson turned to leading medical experts like Dr. Fauci for advice after retiring from the NBA. Okay. Let's go here. Yeah, Fauci's
Now,
into
with this pandemic that we're going through, I would tell you this. I leaned on the professional that he is. And he knew the science of it. He knew how I could get better and be here for a long time. And here it is. I'm living proof that he was right. So when you have all the right information, and here's a man who's been doing this for a long time, telling you these are the things you need to do, I adhered to that, and I'm happy I did. And we joke now when we see each other, oh man, remember 30 years ago, and here you are today. And then it's like also Mutt and Jeff. I'm so tall, he's so short.
Okay, so look at this comment here. This person, I'm going to assume is a black person. This person says, love this man, hey Magic, but seriously, the amount of disrespect that Fauci gets is mind-boggling and so ugly. Yeah, this is why we're cooked as a people. This is why we're cooked as a people. Okay. All right. So worst case, he gets a year in jail. I'd be shocked if that actually took place. Let's go to these comments though. Okay. This decision made today disgusts me beyond description. I got COVID in March 2020, almost died, and today I continue to have to live with the results and the harm that COVID did to me. To blame Fauci is unforgivable. Let's bring Trump in front of this committee, not Fauci. I'd like to know the number of deaths that were caused by following Donald Trump's medical advice. Okay. I wonder how many people would have died or been crippled for life if Rand Paul or Trump were in charge of when polio struck and people went to get the Salk vaccine in the 50s. Okay. All right. Why haven't they held Hegseth Bondi? Okay, that's not going to happen. Rand Paul should go to prison for spreading misinformation and attacking a hero. Thank you, Dr. Fauci, for all you've done for the world. Hey, man, listen, you can't save everybody. You cannot save everybody. Why would you want to? The absurdity of this attack on Fauci is frightening. There is no tether on Dumpster's revenge tour. He's free to persecution anyone that gets in his way of a complete fascist dictatorship. Okay. Hey, man, listen, man. Still believe that Dr. Fauci and his research and scientific crew saved many of us during the COVID-19 attack. Okay. Y'all got it, man. Hey, I'm not here to debate anybody. You got it. You believe what you believe. You stay over there and I stay over here. Okay. All right. Okay. Y'all got it, man. Y'all got it. Let's continue. Last time, 20 minutes. Okay, cool. All right, rise of the progressives. A lot of key wins in a bunch of primaries all over the country right now, especially in Michigan. Our primaries are in November, and then we have training September, October. So let's go here first. Let's get an overview. Key August 4 primary results. Michigan Governor Democrat Jocelyn Benson and Republican John James won their respective primary nominations. Michigan Senate, this is the one everyone's got their eye on. Democrat Abdul El Sayed secured the Democratic nod while Mike Rogers advanced on the Republican side. Kansas Governor, State Senate President Ty Masterson won the Republican nomination with Trump's endorsement. He's a younger guy. Advancing to face Democrat Cindy Holscher. Kansas, incumbent Republican Roger Marshall and Democrat Hamilton won their respective primaries. And in Virginia, Republican Hung Kao Misusawa advanced to challenge incumbent Democrat. This is how pissed off. You have a Republican named Hung Kao Misusawa This is how bad it's gotten for both parties. For both parties. You're going to have progressive Republicans and progressive Democrats on both sides saying the hell with the old status quo. Okay? So November is going to be a gambler's dream. I still predict that the Democrats will win the majority of the races. I don't think it's going to be a wash. I think there are going to be a lot of hard-fought races. But I'm here for it. I am so here for it. I'm going to an hour. Oh, I don't want to go with all this. Let's go here.
Well, Joyce, when you start with District 3, this is playing out in a way that we likely expected. I mean, we knew that Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, her biggest challenger was Washington Senator John Braun, and these early results, they are showing that. You can see Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez leading just barely by 0.2% of the vote, 39% to John Braun's 38.8%. Now, what I thought was really interesting is when you break it down by county here. Of course, we're still waiting for the clearer picture of what this is going to look like with more results coming in. But if you take a look at Lewis County, this is the county where John Braun is from. And
okay,
it is linked.
That's Washington State. Let's get into homeboy El Said. This is the one that everybody's watching. So first you got New York with Mamdani, and now you have Detroit or Michigan with El Said. I know there's no brotherhood, no Muslim brotherhood working. I know. So I don't say that. Don't say that. There's no Muslim Brotherhood working.
Michigan's new Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate spent the day after the primary trying to build a message of inclusion within his own party.
Intra-family squabbles are the biggest ones. But we all know that when we walk out the house, we stand united. And sometimes we got to have it out about the conversation about who we are and who we want to be. And I think I'll tell you that the things that unite us are so much bigger than the things that divide us.
Let's bring in CBS News political director Finn Gomez. Always good to see you, Finn.
Hello, Finn.
So what does El Sayed's victory, do you think, mean for the Democratic Party as a whole? It's closer than we expected.
Yeah, a lot closer than we expected. There were some polls that showed that El Sayed had a 15-point lead heading into Election Day, and that was not the case. It was closer to like a point. Kept us up all night. It was a surprise in a lot of ways. But look, I think it illustrates the growing strength of, frankly, the progressive wing in the Democratic Party.
Now, it's being reported AIPAC spent roughly $60 million on Haley Stevens to beat Abdul El Sayed. $60 million. It is reported to be Michigan's highest funded race in the history of Michigan. $60 million, and you still lost to this guy by literally like 1%.
El Sayed defeated Haley Stevens, who was well funded. Outspent him 9-1. Establishment backed by leadership like Chuck Schumer, Gretchen Whitmer, the popular governor of Michigan. But I think it's another sign that Democratic base voters in some of these battleground states like Michigan are frankly pissed. They're mad at the establishment. They're mad at the leadership, and they want candidates, frankly, who want to fight, who want to take on the establishment.
Yes, I've said years ago, you have a schism between the old heads and the young folk, and now you're seeing the results of that. These young people being voted in. This is the new regime they're going to go with. It's time to get rid of the old and with the new. And this is exactly how it's playing out. But let's continue.
We want to take on Donald Trump, and I think that's what El Sayed embodies. I think now, as you saw there, he does have a hurdle. He's got to unite the Democratic Party. It was a bitter primary. He needs some key voting blocks to show up for him in November, including black voters in Detroit. He needs them to show up if he has a chance of winning against Republican Mike Rogers. We already know, and we have confirmed that there's going to be a lot of money spent in this. The super PAC aligned with Senate Republicans has confirmed to CBS that they're planning to spend upwards of $40 million, $45 million in this battleground race. That's more than any other of these top Senate battles. So it just shows you how significant this is, and why are we talking about Michigan? Why does this matter so much? Because which party controls the Senate could hinge upon who wins this state.
All right, let me ask you about something else, Finney. Yesterday, Democratic Senator John Fetterman slammed Senator Bernie Sanders for endorsing progressive candidates like Dr. El Sayed. Take a listen to this.
Bernie Sanders will never represent any more than 640,000 people in Vermont. That's all he's ever done, and he ever will do. Bernie's not flipping seats. He is helping install volatile and dangerous kinds of candidates, and now put, Democratic seats at risk.
To be fair to Senator Sanders, and he doesn't obviously need me to point out the fact that when he ran for president back in 2015, that he garnered millions of supporters and did very, very well in the primaries for a moment at least. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He won Michigan. He won Michigan, and yeah, you're absolutely right.
Exactly. All right. But Senator Fetterman does make.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I want to get here. I'm going to go here.
Who better to ask than the candidate himself? Abdul Al-Sayed is the Democratic nominee for Senate for Michigan. He joins me now. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much, Jacob. It's like I see you in Detroit. I see you now. You're in New York. You're everywhere.
I got a lot of makeup on. I got a tired face, but I cannot imagine how tired you are. I was at your victory party last night, and the vibes were real. There are other people who are watching this very, very closely, including the Vice President of the United States, who was just asked on Fox News about your victory. Let me show you a little bit of what he had to say.
The base of the Democratic Party just wants radicals. It wants these DSA types. It wants people who hate even the idea of private property ownership. But it also, I think, tells us that that particular set of ideas is very popular.
Okay. Look at this guy here. This guy is a star. This guy is going to be a political star. Abdul Saeed. Get to know that name. He's going to be around for a very, 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 very long time. He's a good-looking guy. He's not sloppy. He's not typical straight white, old, crotchety old white man. This is what the new kids want. He is them. This is what these new progressives want. No more old, established, looking like J.D. Vance types. All right? Out with the old and with the new. This has been brewing for a very long time now. Now you're starting to see these young folk, speak their minds. But this is the type of people they want. Mamdani's the same way. He doesn't look like the old status quo. Nobody wants to see old white men in charge anymore. Let's go.
In places you wouldn't expect, because Al-Sayed, he's this guy who holds himself out as a working class hero, as a guy who's going to fight for the working class. How does he fight for the working class? By flooding his state and his country with low-wage immigrants.
In case you missed any of that, he said that the Democratic Party wants people who hate the idea of even private property ownership. It's very popular in places you wouldn't expect. Speaking of Michigan, he said you'll hold yourself out as a working class hero who's going to fight for the working class by flooding your state with low-wage immigrants. What's your response?
Is that Peter Thiel's boy with that Ohio charisma he's got?
Ooh. Oh, he's sharp. And he's sharp. He's sharp. He's quick-witted. And he knows who the major players are. This guy's going to go far. You listen, what am I, 50 now? So some of you guys are in your 30s. You're going to be seeing this guy for the next 30, 40 years of your life. Okay, he's going to be a long-time senator, something. He's going to be around for a very, very, very long time if he keeps on the path that he's on. But let's continue.
That guy, I think we've had enough of him. The last thing that he said that made any sense was hillbilly elegy, after he said that Donald Trump had no business being president of anything. That was the last time he made sense, and then he decided to suck up to power. But that's exactly what this is about. You've got Republicans who'll do anything for power and money, including corrupt their office, just like Mike Rogers has. For the 14 years he was serving in Congress, he took over $1 million from the pharmaceutical industry. He voted 19 times to raise prescription drug prices. And then he helped to architect the legislation that kicked off the opioid epidemic, killing nearly 600,000 people. Why?
And you know what? I think most people want socialism. Most Americans want socialism. It's an ugly secret that nobody wants to talk about in the open. Now, my only critique of Abdul Saeed is, okay, you're saying all the right things, right? You say the typical tropes to get people riled up. Oh, yeah, he's pushing back on the power structure, and yeah. And it's like, so that's Trojan horse rhetoric. We've heard this before. You get the new, fresh, young upstart that wants to rail against the system, and he names all the major players. I'm not like them. They're all lapdogs. They're all paid proxies and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's the easy selling point, is to get people to rally around you. Oh, he's like us. He's not like them. He's not a paid shill. I get all that. I'm looking at this thing from both ends. Once again, guys like Saeed start off bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, full of hope and optimism. After 15, 20 years, man, you end up like on the other side. It's just a matter of time. But come on, I'm here for it.
for money and power. But that's what that party's about. We're trying to get money out of politics to put money in your pocket past Medicare for All, which of course are things that people like Ohio J.D. Vance and Mike Rogers have no clue about, because they've always been in it for themselves rather than for the public.
I was looking at some of the headlines about your victory that have come out, since last night. Democrats' path unclear. Democrats licking wounds. Warning for Democrats. These are mainstream headlines about you and the victory. What's your reaction to this framing about the race?
Well, I understand if you think that the whole point here is about where the Democrats go, you might miss the fact that this is about everyday people in the state of Michigan. My goal is to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket past Medicare for All, because when I talk to Michiganders, as I have for the better part of 15 months, in their living rooms, in their basements, in their backyards, in their parks, they don't tell me about where they sit on the left-right spectrum. They're asking me about who's going to show up to make sure that I can afford my groceries, who's going to make sure that I can see a doctor when I get sick, who's going to make sure that the infrastructure that I travel, the roads and bridges, don't pop my tire every time I drive over them, and who's going to make sure my kid's school is competent. Those are the questions people are asking, and they're asking them because Donald Trump and his acolytes like Mike Rogers have done just such a piss-poor job at actually doing the thing they got elected to do. They're taking us to, what, another war? We've got an opportunity to actually answer.
He's saying all the right things, and it's hard to not like this guy. I like this guy. But at the same time, this is Trojan horse rhetoric. This is what you're supposed to say when you want to upend the changers table, right? This is how you rally the disenfranchised people within a certain political spectrum. This is what you're supposed to say. So I can't be mad at him for saying all the right things to galvanize the people behind him to take on the empire. And then 20 years down the road, you become the new empire. How many times have we seen this in our faces? Our parents went through the same thing. Grandparents went through the same thing, right? But nothing's changing. Nothing will change. But as of right now, you have to let people feel like their vote matters. Once again, I've said this time and time again. You have to let them have a couple wins, y'all, right? The puppet masters have to let the people feel like they got a victory. Let them have it. Even though in the long term, you're going to flip these people. It's going to end up in your favor anyway, but you have to let the people have a couple victories. Let them feel like, yeah, we can inspire change. That's how you play the ultimate long game. Just let them have a couple wins, y'all. Come on.
Their problems. That's what this movement was built on doing. And that's why I think Democrats have a real pathway forward. If you look at the numbers coming out of yesterday, Democrats voted in, 500,000 more voters. If we show up like that in November, what's that going to mean for Mike Rogers and, frankly, any of their chances?
You mentioned universal health care, Medicare for All. It's been a central part of your campaign. I would imagine there are a lot of people who are saying some version of this to you, or when you're out on the campaign trail. Congress cannot even, there's no way that they're going to pass Medicare for All under this president. They can't even exercise their war powers. What do you tell those people about whether or not this is a pie-in-the-sky dream that you're going around Michigan talking about?
Well, clearly I'm a different kind of Democrat, as we just talked about. $60 million spent to try and beat me because I don't take corporate money. I'm here to actually take on the challenges that working people face. Imagine you had a Congress that actually worked for you instead of worked for the corporations in the exact same way that Mike Rogers has made it work for a very long time. I really believe that Congress can do good things. That's why I'm running, because I'd like to make it do good things. But it's going to take defeating the defeatism of Trumpism and of Mike Rogers and the kind of politics that tells us that Congress basically sits there to figure out how to make themselves rich or to enrich the corporate donor class that they have been taking orders from for a very long time.
Okay, so what I gather is most American people have given up on the ideas of becoming financially wealthy. And if they're given a second option of just everybody share this giant pie, I think they'll do that, which is why I think socialism is very, very popular with a lot of people, especially young people, Zs and millennials. They can't afford nothing. And they've given up the ideas of becoming financially wealthy. Okay? A lot of them had to move back home, got roommates. I mean, they're in their big 30s with roommates. And I think most of these people would say, you know what, if I can have a piece of the pie, I'm okay with that. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Okay? All right. Hey, like I said, he's got to say all the right things, y'all. He's got to say the right things. I like the guy. I like his energy. I like his look. He's saying all the right things that he's supposed to say to make, once again, to make the downtrodden feel like they have a champion and they have a say-so in this fight. That's how you keep the people in the perpetual. Okay. As Abdul El Said, he's going to be around for a very, 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 very long time. He will play the game correctly. That's all I got. I just want to do a quick stream before I get ready to go to work. a late game. I got a bunch of late games tonight, and I'll try to come back and do a stream when I get home, but it's gonna be late. I'm gonna be tired, but whatever. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I probably will. I probably will come back, and as of right now, that's all I got. Anything else? I wanna. Let's go here. Yes, it's last topic. Last political topic, and we out of here. Okay, let's go here.
Welcome back. Just about the bottom of the hour. So we've got some new reporting first here on MS Now about the brutally demanding conditions that service members are facing overseas as we wait for some resolution to the war with Iran. MS Now spoke with a dozen family members and sailors and Marines aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, who say they're extremely concerned about the morale, safety, and conditions on that ship. The 5,000-person crew has been at sea for 9 straight months and engaged in combat operations since the beginning of the war against Iran all the way back in February. Many family members describe their kids or spouses telling them about non-operational toilets, moldy showers, laundry facilities that were broken for weeks, and extended periods with no hot water for showering. The families say their loved ones have described food shortages and standing in line at the ship's store for an hour or more, even while it often lacks basic supplies like toothpaste, soap, and deodorant. Let's bring in MS Now Pentagon reporter Priya Sridhar, who broke that story. Former Acting Army Secretary Patrick Murphy also back with us. Priya, it's a great story. People think about service members, in this case sailors, in a combat zone. They, of course, think about the dangers the enemy may pose. They perhaps think less about just the...
Now, remember, I think 6 months ago, there were reports that the sailors sabotaged one of their ships so they could go back. It's not go back out and go and stay in a port and not go back out because they had been out for so long, and that quickly got scrubbed. I would like to know what old school military veterans are thinking, what these kids are going through. Once again, these are still kids, under 25, the majority of them. I get it, war is ugly and war is dirty and nasty, but you should at least be able to give your soldiers the basics, man, the basics.
Conditions they have to live with each and every day, sounding downright miserable and at times maybe even dangerous.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, the Lincoln just set a record in the Navy for having the most continuous days at sea, with more than 200 days underway. They left San Diego in November. They had a brief stop in Guam in December, and then they didn't stop for a port call again until early July, just briefly in Oman, where most of the sailors were able to get off the ship, but they had to stay in port. And really what the families were telling me is they're very worried about exhaustion here. Most of their family members are working 12 to 14-hour shifts. They're depending on their job. They're not getting any days off. And when you talk about a flight deck on an aircraft carrier, this is one of the most dangerous places in the military. You're having high-speed aircraft taking off and landing. You have munitions, weapons, and bombs being moved around at a very fast pace. And the service members are also being exposed to, really loud noises for a sustained period of time, which can really lead to long-term injuries like hearing loss. So when you're talking about exhaustion, when you're talking about low morale, because now this deployment has been extended for a second time and there's no end in sight, they're worried that those things could lead to accidents that could potentially even be deadly. I want you to take a listen to what some of them told me.
They didn't choose to be there. They volunteered to be there. They're willing to be there, and they're doing their best. So they want our support. And part of that support means we have to have the tools to do our job. That means the fuel. That means the food, right? That means the food. That means the toothpaste and the deodorant. That means all of it, right? Now,
I don't think it's the ship is the issue. I think it's our president, it's our government that's not helping the morale. I think the ship is...
Ma'am, your guy Pete Hegseth is in charge of the military. Trump I get, but y'all let's continue.
Doing what they can do with what they're given, but I think our government needs to be doing more for our military that's sitting over there.
And so, you're hearing from them about exhaustion, but they're saying that, even at the end of their shifts, the fact that these sailors and Marines can't take showers, they can't wash their uniforms. I had some family members tell me that they believe that prisoners and inmates in jail are treated with more dignity and respect than our service members.
Okay, now don't do that. Don't do that. Not you were on point. Now you disrespecting, I don't know, whatever I don't like that rhetoric. Okay, because if you've seen some of these prisons, nobody would ever exchange what's going on a ship versus being locked up. You got your fucking mind. Ain't nobody getting killed. No one's trying to stab you in on a U.S. ship. On an aircraft carrier. No one's trying to kill you. Okay, Let's not do that. Ma'am, let's not do that.
So, Patrick, let's get your take on this. What does this tell you about Pete Hegseth's military?
Listen, we're stretched pretty thin, and it's not just. I mean, Priya did a great job in his reporting, Jonathan. The one point she made in her article, which I'd like to highlight, there's over 10,000 shorties off the USS Lincoln. I mean, you know, in the Pentagon, we used to say, amateurs talk strategy, experts talk logistics. The USS Lincoln is the logistics machine there in the Middle East, you know, pushing out these sorties every day. And it is a very dangerous, you know, job. And these are the ultimate warriors, whether you're a sailor or a soldier. The fact is that you are doing really tough jobs. And so my heart and thoughts and prayers are going out to these sailors and their families. I know they've been extended twice. They're stretched pretty thin right now.
And this is not a new boat. The ship launched in the 80s. Priya, talk to us. It was also a conflict with no real end in sight. Like there's, you know, negotiations off and on. Every so often the president, you know, authorizes some sort of strike. They could be there for a long time to come.
Yeah, and that's something I heard repeatedly from the families as well, is that, you know, they understand that their loved ones volunteered to be in the military, right? They're not expecting to be on a Carnival cruise here. They don't expect buffets. They don't expect, you know, a hot tub. They understand that the conditions are going to be rough. They signed up to go to war. But I think what's lacking here is any clear strategy. And they said, you know, we're ready to do a mission and complete a mission, but what we're failing to understand is what this mission actually is and when is it going to end. So I think really what they're looking for is some goalpost that, you know, they can keep.
Okay, are these soldiers complaining? I would love to hear more old school military veterans weigh in on this. Are these kids complaining? Are these kids soft? Is this military soft? Yeah? I can see both sides of this argument.
Now, 6 months into Donald Trump's deeply unpopular war in Iran, which he promised would last weeks, we are hearing from the families of U.S. sailors and Marines. Those family members are outraged by the horrific conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. They describe long workdays, moldy showers, food shortages, and sailors running out of toothpaste, deodorant, and soap. They say their loved ones, our service members, are so exhausted after 9 months at sea, fighting a war with no end in sight, that they fear it could lead to deadly mistakes. Here's how one mom describes her own outrage and the conditions she learned from her son over email.
Food obviously has been scarce. All he's really told me is there's a time where he was only eating half a cup of rice and 2 tortillas. The morale is bad. You're not being able to shower. They don't have toiletries. You know, they're having to share stuff. They're exhausted. Trump doesn't want the bad publicity. He knows. You can't tell me he does not know what's going on over there. You cannot tell me that he does not know that they don't have food. He knows. He knows. Pete Hegseth. Send Pete Hegseth over there. Then you come tell us that everything is okay. Because what we're hearing from our children are...
I don't know, y'all. These kids little bitches. I don't know. Are these young men little bitches? I don't know. I'm looking at this thing from both sides of the argument, okay? I don't know, man. Two things, both of these situations, both point of views could be correct. I guess it depends on which side of the pendulum or spectrum you fall on and your age. If you're a younger person, you probably would side with the kids on the ship. If you're an older person, you're like, suck it up, buttercup. War is hell. War is hell. I can see both sides of this argument.
Spouses or whomever is not that.
I'm going to bring into our coverage Pentagon reporter Priya Sridhar, who broke this story. She's also a former officer in the Navy. This is deeply disturbing, and I know you talked to more than a dozen family members. Take us through what you're reporting.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. Well, there are about 5,000 sailors and Marines who are on that aircraft carrier, the Lincoln, and they just broke a record that nobody in the Navy ever wants to break, and that's the most number of continuous days at sea. They left San Diego, their home port, in November. They briefly stopped in Guam in December, and then they didn't make another port call until they went to Oman just a few weeks ago in early July. Many of these sailors and Marines are working 12 to 14-hour shifts, and depending on their jobs.
Isn't that normal working hours, 12 to 16? I know a lot of nurses work mandatory 16-hour days. My dad used to work 16-hour days. I've done my share of 16-hour days. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? I don't know. See, now my age is starting to show because now I'm starting to not feel bad for these kids. You don't have to worry about shit like running a household per se. 16-hour days, that's pretty standard for a lot of people. I think maybe these young people on this ship are a little bitches. I'm starting to lean towards little bitches. Yeah, little whiners, little complainers. They soft as baby poo.
They're not getting a day off. And when you talk about the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, that's one of the most dangerous places in the military, whether or not you're at war. You have these really fast-paced aircraft that are launching and landing on that flight deck. You have bombs, munitions, and weapons that are being moved around at a very fast pace. And you have these sailors and Marines that are being exposed to extremely loud noises for sustained periods of time that can really lead to long-term injuries like hearing loss. So really what these families are telling me is that when you couple the exhaustion with the low morale that's a result of the fact that they just
I'm hearing a little bitchery. I hear whiners. I hear softness. Yeah, my uncle went to Vietnam and didn't come back right. I had a friend I used to train with. He was an older guy. He was in Vietnam and he was suffering from Agent Orange. I mean, you know, their own government sprayed him with a, carcinogenic chemical. And yeah, he was an older guy and his skin would occasionally peel and he would have to go get this special shower. I think 3 times a month. He would have to go take this special shower because his skin would be just so irritated because that shit never left his body. The Agent Orange. He had a couple cancer scares, but I mean, there was times I could see him literally just peel right in front of me. We're talking the wintertime. It wasn't because his skin was dehydrated or even in summertime because he was sunburned. Like his skin would literally just start to peel, and then he would get sprayed, and then I see him a couple of days later after the spray, and then he still had the spray on him. So I'm leaning towards these kids are bitches. They're just soft, and I don't feel bad for them. But let's continue, so I can get up out of here.
That their deployment was extended for a second time. They're concerned that this could lead to accidents that could potentially turn deadly. And then on top of that, the conditions that you just talked about, they're telling me that the sailors and the Marines can't take hot showers, that the toilets are non-operational, that for weeks at a time there are no access to working laundry facilities, and that they're having to stand in lines to get into the ship's store for 1 to 2 hours. And when they get there, there are no basic hygiene items like toothpaste, deodorant, or soap. And so really their frustration here is that they keep hearing from lawmakers and on the media these questions about our stockpiles of munitions and weapons and $67 billion that Secretary had.
Kareem, why are you like this? Why? All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I think these kids are being bitches. I don't feel bad for them. War is hell. So I'm gonna get out of here. That's my show. We've been having fucking crazy times. I hear you. I agree with everybody here. It's just, yeah, these kids are bitches, man. This is the military right now. It's soft as baby poo. All right, I'm out of here. I'll be back. I'll try to come back many hours later. I got 3 games. Oh, did I? So last night, my last game, they got the fight in the parking lot. We are talking about adult men's softball. Okay, so I work the adult men's softball league, and it's nothing but 30 to 60-year-old men playing softball, right? Of all walks of life. I got some guys play D1 ball. A couple guys actually played in the majors. A couple guys played in AAA. So you can literally look at these guys and tell who's played like professionally. And then you hear all the jokes, all the Beaner, white boy, racist joke. I mean, it's just guys being guys, right? They tell raucous, raunchy ass jokes, and they give me hell. I give it right back to them, right? But last night, our last game, they got the fight in the parking lot, man. Over the last game, I shit you not. And my supervisor with her crazy ass is in the mix, trying to break it up because they're literally in the parking lot. And I mean, these guys got big ass pickup trucks. And they're doing burnouts in the parking lots, talking about, I mean, just the most raucous, niggery, urban, beaner shit that you can imagine. A softball game, y'all. We're talking about we're talking about grandpas in the goddamn parking lot talking about, look me up, homie. I'm certified. I'm just like, oh my Lord. And I can't leave my supervisor because she's this little old woman and she trying to break this shit up. And I'm just hovering because I'm like, Lord, please don't hit the woman. You know what I'm saying? So I can't. You know what? I'll tell you what. When I come back tonight, I'll play the foot because I had my phone recording. And I just let that shit play. And I don't know what my original point was, but I'm around a lot of men that just men being men, and I have fun with it. I have fun with the banter, the jokes, how everybody's engaged. And like I said, I'm in proximity to, these guys that used to play professional baseball, and I'm just watching and enjoying it, touching grass. And so on my team, I haven't been able to play because I've been working. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to rejoin my team, even though I miss playing. But I enjoyed being an umpire just as much because I'm still out there interacting. But last night, I shit you not, they were trying to scrap in the parking lot over a goddamn. But that's what men, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna say it's a intellect issue or just a cultural thing. Like, it's just men. And if you're competitive, like you are in life, you're competitive in sports, you're competitive in this, like that, you just don't turn that shit off. You don't wake up one day and be like, well, I don't feel like being competitive. Like, if you're a man, you're out here competing in every aspect of life. And I get it. So I wasn't tripping. I was just like, just please don't hit my supervisor. Please don't hit this woman. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here for it. MLB trying to institute salary cap. I don't like it. Like, if they wanted to do that, they should have did that with David Justice, Bobby Bonilla, stupid ass contracts. A-Rod had a stupid contract with Texas. Like, if they really wanted to do salary caps, you should have did that shit 15, 20 years ago. No, overpay these players. I'm here for it. Use the audio for a new and improved Jared talk. I'm done with you. All right, so I'm gonna try to come back tonight, y'all. Hey, listen. And we have a co-ed softball league too. So we got women, and some of the women played college ball. So it just so happened to be last night that I was just working all the men's games. So tonight will be both men and co-ed, and the women be out there talking shit too. Like, you can tell every woman that's played, because they all got that staggered stance. And what I mean by staggered is when you get up to the plate, how most people, I guess non-players, would just have both feet next to each other. All the girls that you can tell play college softball, they got the staggered step. So the left foot is back, and the right foot's up front, and you just get up there and you just like, oh, they've played. I mean, you can look at them swinging, you can look at them throwing, and they're all thick and chunky because they've had kids and put on some weight. But them women be out there slinging the shit, man. They be cranking it. So I'm enjoying it. So I just like being around these older people that's in my age bracket, still out here enjoying life. I don't see no young folk like that now. That's me saying, are there any youth softball leagues? I'm just like, they're either playing baseball for the most part, or a softball, and they're probably pretty much in high school or on a travel team. But I'm saying is, I get to see older people out here. They could leave work and come out and play, and they're competitive. And so once again, what I see outside does not necessarily mirror what I'm seeing online. I'm keep saying that. So all this doom and gloom, there's a place for it. But we don't have conversations about California like that, the politics. It is what it is. These people are not going to leave. These people are in their 50s and 60s. They got homes, they got grandkids now. They're not going where, and they still find ways to enjoy their lives. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is that they, I guess Gen Xers, we don't make an excuse. We just go out there and find a way. And, like I said, I enjoy seeing all these older folk my age and shit. And they're like, yo, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 51. They're like, fuck out of here. You're not 51, liar. And I'm like, go get your ID. We don't believe you. But it's the type of stuff I'm surrounded with. And I enjoy it. So I'm getting long-winded. I'm out of here. So I'll try to come back tonight. But if I don't hold it against me. So with that being said, I may or may not see y'all. All right.